worst nightmare, Longlegs is less about spiders than it is about a typical week in the life of Nic Cage. Director Oz Perkins delivers an atmospheric murder mystery that is more, how's he doing this, than who is doing this. Sprinkle in some Satan worship and a handful of horrible birthdays to get one of the most talked about horror films of last year. So, for all things that make you feel sad, bad, or generally just not rad, this is Existential Shred.
Speaking of Nicolas Cage, I mean, clearly there was a little bit of prosthetics, but man, he did not look like Nic Cage. There are times whenever like you can tell it's him.
Yeah. We went to go see this, my girlfriend and I, in theaters. Afterwards, I was like, yeah, that was Nic Cage. And she was like, oh, I didn't realize that was him. There's enough prosthetic on him that it doesn't really look like him. One of the selling points before it actually came out was obviously him. So if you heard about it before, you kind of knew it was him. But it is easy to not realize it's him if you just don't know that. Real quick, I guess before we get in it proper, content warning, might be a little talk about like childhood abuse, things like that. So if you don't want to hear that, by all means, duck out. We'll see you next time. I guess generally, would you recommend, as someone who hadn't watched it before, would you recommend it?
Absolutely. I've already been recommending it to people.
Right.
I just watched it last night.
Nice. Okay.
This movie's awesome.
All right. So, if you want to duck out, see you later. If not, let's talk about it. Longlegs is a film by Oz Perkins, who most recently directed The Monkey, which is an adaptation of Stephen King, and he directed The Blackcoat's Daughter, which you said you had seen.
That's a good movie as well.
Yeah, I think I started it. I don't think I finished it, but general synopsis is we follow FBI agent Lee Harker, and she is given an opportunity to work on an unsolved serial killer case after displaying some extraordinary, they call it intuitive abilities in the field. They kind of call her like a half psychic.
It's like a little bit of clairvoyance, if you will.
Yeah, it's ambiguous. It's not really, they're not like she was grown in a lab to be a super FBI agent. But after the search begins, she begins to realize like it's probably a more personal case to her than she anticipated, and then hijinks ensue. So Lee is played by Micah Monroe from It Follows. Nic Cage is obviously the titular Longlegs, and then Agent Carter, her partner in the movie, is played by a man named Blair Underwood, who was in Deep Impact and Quantico. And I realized this, doing research, he went to school at Carnegie Mellon.
I saw that too. I looked him up.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. But yeah, released 2024. It was a pretty big, it got a lot of hype last year.
I wanted to mention her mother also. I'm trying to remember who the actress is.
Marilyn.
Alicia Witt.
Oh, okay.
Played Ruth Harker.
I thought you meant Micah's.
No. Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
But no, the lady that played her mother, Alicia Witt, was a recurring cast member in Twin Peaks by David Lynch.
Oh, okay.
Which also like big murder mystery, like very weird. But she was a big David Lynch collaborator in general because I think discovered her first film was Dune, where he played the younger daughter in David Lynch's Dune.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know that. Which he just died.
Yeah.
Not too long ago.
R.I.P.
Yeah. So one of the big things about this film is Silence of the Lamb is obviously a big comparison. I read some interviews where Oz Perkins just basically said that was pretty intentional. It starts off like with it's supposed to be like an entry point for people where there's something that they can kind of like attach to, like, oh, it's like Silence of the Lambs, and then you bring them in and you kind of give them something a little different than that. It's not just Silence of the Lambs for a new generation.
It becomes a lot less like Silence of the Lambs as it goes on.
Yeah, which I have never seen Silence of the Lambs. I'm probably going to try to watch it this weekend. But yeah, that was kind of the big detractor, is if you read some of the negative reviews, people say like, oh, it's just Silence of the Lambs. Which it has like a little bit of a gradient for how people feel about it. 66 on IMDb, 86 on Rotten Tomatoes, 77 on Metacritic. So it's kind of like right in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
people enjoying it or not. A lot of people just kind of say it's slow and boring, and I disagree with
Yeah,
that.
there's not a lot of fat in it whatsoever.
No.
And like I don't think it's slow. Even the parts that are slow, like there's some very they're tense. Even the parts that are slow.
Yeah, one of the things that I read was there's a lot of like subversion of expectations as a moviegoer. So like there's um like wide shots of characters' scenes, and we're kind of conditioned as an audience now in the modern age to see wide shots as some kind of impending doom where we're conditioned to think something's going to come into camera or there's something that we should be looking for in the background. I know the first time I saw it in theaters, that's literally what happened to me. Is I was watching and like it would pan to these wide shots with like Lee, our main character, like front and center, and then just all of this empty space around her, and I'd be like really tense, like looking for something creepy in the background.
Yeah. Is that a big thing with horror movies to do, or is it like
Well,
just in general movies do that?
so I mean, like think about more like modern horror films, like
Yeah.
even something like if we talk about Hereditary, there's instances where the wide shot where there's a lot of empty space has little hidden things, like the scene towards the end of Hereditary where you get the wide shot of the bedroom and there's the person in the top corner,
Yeah.
things like that.
Gotcha.
Or like I don't know, like Paranormal Activity,
Yeah.
Insidious is like movies like that where they're trying to scare you. So when you pan to a wide shot, you might see something in the
And
background.
they
Kind of.
did have that in some of the wide shots in this. Like they would have like a shadowy figure.
Yeah, it's not always absent, but a lot of the times
It was.
it helps build the tension.
Yeah, that's good. I like that though. Like I'd like it not always to be the same.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know. I don't understand a lot of the criticism of it. I think the other thing is really people kind of hark, ironically, on Special Agent Lee Harker, and I'm saying this not in a derogatory sense. I'm not trying to use this specific phrase as a way to, I don't know, be problematic. But a lot of people think that she's like autistically coded. So like a lot of her mannerisms she displays, people think that she is a character that has autism because of how she doesn't interact well or how she's very blunt affect.
Yeah.
I just think they probably didn't watch the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't know. What did you think?
She definitely is like think about the job that she's doing. Like you're somebody whose job is to pay close attention to detail and like her whole brain and the whole thing that she's focused on is this serial killer case. Like she might not feel good in social interactions. It doesn't mean she's autistic. But at the same time, like whenever Carter invites him into his house, she's like, "Do I have to?" Like she already didn't get a lot of sleep. She just wants to go home and like probably focus on the case. When you have people that are analytical like that, chances are they're not usually very social also.
So you bring up something plot wise that I think connects to more how people should like interpret it and take her behavior. There's a little bit going on like contextually with the story. So one um there's a couple things going on contextually. One of the first one is obviously Oz Perkins is a man, and he typically writes and has female protagonists. He says that this helps him create a useful distance and curiosity, not only for him, but like male audiences generally, because obviously he can never understand what it's like to be a woman. So like there is inherently like a distance between him and the character which he says basically he said I can't ever know how a woman thinks, and I want to glorify that mystery in movies. So it creates an inherent mystery for him. The other thing is a lot of the themes of the movie are very personal to him. So his dad was a famous actor, Anthony Perkins, who was in Psycho. His dad was a closeted gay man, and some of the film kind of talks about what a mother is willing to do to kind of shield their children from some kind of traumatic event. Not saying having a gay father is traumatic, but obviously kind of the upheaval of like the family unit, especially at a time like that. That was probably at a time when that was not very accepted.
Speaking of Psycho real quick, did you know Oz Perkins was also in Psycho?
No.
He played the younger version of his dad in that movie.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that. So a lot of the themes surrounding the movie deal with childhood trauma and, to a degree, childhood abuse. One of the things that you brought up already that speaks to this theme is Lee is a very sheltered character. The film opens with like a flashback sequence. You don't really know it's a flashback sequence, but it is, where you're introduced to young Lee. A car pulls up and she walks outside to kind of like see who this is. And that's when you first get introduced to Longlegs as well. And he's just kind of in the back of her house, like trying to get her attention. And you get the vibe immediately. He's not a good guy.
Yeah, it's very creepy.
Yeah. And this is where, like, what kind of abuse that Oz Perkins is trying to portray kind of gets a little muddy, because Longlegs is very creepy. Like, he calls Lee like his little angel.
He calls a lot of like little angels, little girls. Yeah.
Yeah. So it gets really murky there. I don't really want to touch on that.
Yeah.
But you get this instance that something traumatic happened. She's very sheltered. Her mom is very overbearing. They talk every single day.
She's very religious.
Very religious. And one of the things that you really pick up on is how, and this is a theme throughout the movie, you hear them talking about like Lee is treated as a child, essentially. Even as an adult, she's treated as a child. She's kind of stuck in that moment where something traumatic happened. And you hear throughout the movie her mom refer to this idea that like, you were allowed to grow up because I did what I had to do. And even in the scene where you were talking about, where Carter, you know, they're working on the case, they go out for a drink, and Lee drives Carter home, and he's like, all right, well, you get to meet my family now. She's like, do I have to? That's a very childlike thing. Like, I don't want to do that. Do I actually have to do it? And he was just like, yeah, you do. And it's just this kind of overbearing fatherly presence that you understand that she also doesn't have. Like, her dad is never mentioned.
That's the thing too, where like I think that like she does seem antisocial to me more than anything, but that seemed like that was more of an antisocial response. Like, it's late. Even before they went out for drinks, she's like, it's late. I fell asleep doing my job. He's like, well, let's go get a drink. She's like, well, I don't drink. I'd just like to go. And he's like, well, I'll drink. You just tell me everything you found out. Mm-hmm. It's, like, then again, now she drives him home, and he's like, yeah, come in. She's like, come on, just like, let me go. But then it's also her boss just being like, no, you have to come in.
Yeah. And yeah, there's different ways. Like, if you want to like interact with it in various ways, there's a lot of different ways to see it. I just don't necessarily think that the best take for people to have coming away with this is that she's neurodivergent, and that's why it's like, clearly there's like, she's a sheltered person. She's, you know, she's kind of in this weird liminal space between being treated as a child and, you know, doing a very adult job.
And then also being treated as like half psychic.
Yeah. It's just she's put in a very strange position.
I think the thing in general that keeps happening a lot, especially with her coworkers, that makes it seem like rude in treating her like a child, is the other agent that's always just like, she's not ready. The female agent.
Yeah. Which I don't think they give her a name.
I can't. Saw her name in the cast, but I can't
Mm.
remember it. But yeah, she'll be like, she like at the start they're sitting in the car talking. And she's like, she's not ready for this. She's
Yeah.
definitely not ready for this. And then when they go and find to the one crime scene where the people have been dead for a month, and they go to pull the like the blanket back, and she's not ready for this. Like,
There's this aspect that she's not in a position to like be in an adult world, but then there's also a lot of the more like childish aspects of the movie. She's very visibly uncomfortable. Like she goes to when she's meeting Carter's family, his daughter is like, "Do you want to come see my bed?" And she's like, "Okay." And she's very uncomfortable in their birthday party towards the end. Obviously, is a very uncomfortable situation. Even like just children in general are constantly at risk, so it kind of creates this tension for her. And that's a big thing throughout, like the idea of childhood, the idea of motherhood especially, is one of the like forefront kind of things, which you could extend to parenthood generally, is the idea of like how far should and could a parent go to protect their child, and then the moral ambiguity of that, where it's like we'll get into it more when we just discuss kind of the plot of the movie, but you know, can you do something morally, ethically wrong for the sake of your child and kind of be, I don't want to say excused, but
yeah,
like understood for doing that? But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot with it. The other thing I want to point out is this is similar to my animal symbology. We're gonna focus on some numbers. We're gonna do some numerology.
is it six?
There's
The
four,
number six,
there's four numbers I want us to keep in mind.
8,
No,
6, and 14.
you're close.
Yeah.
So there's three numbers we're gonna keep in mind, or four. Fuck. There's four numbers: 3, 6, 9, and 14. Just keep those in mind whenever we're talking. Keep those four numbers in mind, and whenever we hit them the first time, whenever we're first like, oh, this number, I'll do some learning on you.
I'm trying to figure out why 9, but then 3.
You'll
I
see.
know 6 and 14.
Oh, you'll see. So, don't really want to spend a ton of time just kind of going through the movie, because I think a lot of the most interesting stuff is kind of the interpretation of it.
Yeah.
But you know, we can talk through it a little bit. So, we meet our main character, Agent Lee Harker. First off, I want to ask you, who does Lee work for?
The Federal Bureau of Investigation.
All right. So, 3-letter organization. 3.
3 number.
What is our main character's name?
Lee.
3 letters. So, yeah, I get it. This is conspiratorial. I don't really care. But it's right there from the beginning. So, let's talk about the number 3. Now, I specifically started with numerology in the Bible because religion plays a very large aspect of this movie. It's just very directly said our antagonist, Longlegs, worships Satan. And
Which they point out, too, the FBI, is legal in the United States.
it is. It is very legal. So, 3, as a concept, is the most stable physical shape. The idea of 3, so you have Father, Son, Holy Spirit, in a more close context, especially in the movie.
Oh, God. Sorry. As I say, the triangle also, which is supposed to be one of the strongest shapes.
Exactly. So Father, Son, Holy Spirit. You also have Mother, Father, Daughter, essentially, or Mother, Father, Child. Beyond that, one of the clues that gets us closer to solving the mystery is the inverted triangle. When, if you take the murder dates, they create you put them into an algorithm and it creates a triangle and it tells you the next date that they should expect a killing. So triangle, three sides. It is also 3 is the first of the 4 spiritually perfect numbers. I didn't know that. But the 4 spiritually perfect numbers are 3, 7, 10, and 12. I don't know why. So, a little numerology there. Does it fit in directly? Kinda, yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
I'm not gonna say Oz Perkins specifically put that much thought into a lot of this, but it's just, little something to think about.
He did enough work for us to do the rest, or for you to do the rest, I suppose.
Yeah, I broke out my red string on this one.
You had your own algorithm going.
Yeah. It was one of those things. I read a really good Fangoria article that kind of is more critical, but one of the things they pointed out was some of the like numerology, and I was like, I'm gonna follow that idea. So when I watched it, I was like, So we meet Lee. Part 1 kicks off.
Oh, there's 3 parts.
There's 3 parts. Granted, that's standard script structure.
Sometimes you get a 4th and 5th act.
However, so this is my argument for that. It points out that it's 3 parts.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, stories don't tell you when the acts occur. So, throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Something to chew on. Going along with the childhood theme, so it opens up after you meet Longlegs, after the intro credit scene, kind of going along with the idea of childhood and like Lee being treated like a child. You're introduced to all the main characters essentially as adults, and they're in a investigation room. They're being debriefed on what they're supposed to be doing, and one of the first lines spoken is, "All right, kids, this is the part where you get to do the things that adults don't want to do anymore." Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. And then that's when Lee goes out on they're going like door to door trying to find a murderer, essentially. Not Longlegs at this point. But she goes out knocking doors with her partner, and this is where you first kind of understand that she has some intuitive, possibly psychic ability. She looks at a house, which I want to say this is like a beautifully shot movie. It is shot both in 35 millimeter and digitally, but I think it's one of the best looking films.
The flashback scenes are all in 35 millimeter, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
which at the start I was like, is this whole movie going to be shot in
that like
format?
Well, and yeah, because the flashback scenes are all in like the craziest. It's just like a square in the middle of the entire movie. But I don't know if you felt it, but when I was watching it, it almost felt like it was expanding slowly, and it kind of gave me like a sense of like tension.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to see if it was expanding into a normal aspect ratio, and it just kind of like, I don't know, it made me a little anxious. I don't know if that was the intended effect.
Probably.
But yeah, I don't know.
It worked.
But she tells her partner, the guy's in this house, call it in. He's like, I'm not calling it in just because you think. And he walks up, knocks on the door, and
he gets got.
Promptly shot in the face.
Yeah. He goes, "Hey, we're looking for this," and
bam, blammo. Your noggin's on the back of the door now. After that, they put her through like an intuition test to like test, is she psychic, essentially.
There's a random number generator.
There is.
Then they basically asked her to guess a number between 0 and 100 a lot.
Do you remember what the first number she says is?
Is it 3?
33.
33.
And then she says
0. Yeah.
But
what it gives her, she guessed half of them right.
Yeah.
Is what they.
Carter's like, you beat the test half the time. She's like, yeah, but I also lost half the time.
Yeah.
Half psychic's better than
not psychic at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, at that point, they're on a stakeout, and they're talking about, it was a murder scene where a father killed his wife, his
2 children, I believe.
Yeah, and then took his own life. But they found a note from Longlegs, and they know that Longlegs is like a serial killer, but all signs point to he wasn't there. He didn't do it. And like basically if the letter wasn't here, they would have no reason to even believe he was a part of it. So they're trying to figure out, how is this connected to all the other ones? And they say that the connection with Longlegs is there's a connection to 10 murders over 30 years.
30 years.
Just throwing that out there.
Also, the letters that they did send are in a scripture indecipherable to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that they can read is it just as Longlegs.
Yeah, it's all like Zodiac-esque. No one can crack the code. That's when you get a lot of the information. All the families have daughters. All the families who were targeted have daughters who had a birthday on the 14th. So let's talk about the number 14, because that comes up a little bit. 14 is significant because it is twice the number 7. 7 is a significant number. It is one of the spiritually perfect numbers.
So if you take 4 minus 1, you get 3.
If you want to go that far, yeah. I couldn't find too much on like the biblical significance of 14 other than it's supposed to be a double measure of spiritual perfection or deliverance and salvation. There's also 14 generations in between Abraham and Joseph. So significant to remember is all the daughters have birthdays on the 14th. And you also get the call from the father at that point, and you understand like he's kind of cracking. He's like, "It's not my daughter." And they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah. I was trying to remember what father you were talking about.
Yeah, the one who did went a murder.
The murdering.
Yeah. So you kind of get the idea that something about these people isn't quite right, which you could have probably gotten from the fact that they murdered their family, but
yeah,
a little more
he
obvious.
kept saying like, when her eyes are closed, it's the best time to do it. Like it was, yeah.
Yeah.
But they mention when they're talking about all the details of the murders, also like, it's like you said, he's not present. The only thing that makes him present there is the letter. Other than that, he's not the one doing the murders. Mm-hmm. But they're like, so he's convincing people to do it somehow.
Yeah, and that's what they can't figure out.
Yeah.
Is what's going on. He's connected to all these murders, and apparently, like, he's back at it or something. After that, you get the scene of Lee going home. So this would actually be after her and Carter go out for a drink. She takes him home. She returns to her home, and this is where you get a lot of those really creepy shots where it's very wide. You expect something to happen. Nothing really does. But at one point, she does get a knock at the door, or more like a bang at the door. She looks outside. No one's there. She goes outside to investigate, and then wide shot, you see someone in the window walking through. She sees it as well.
She sees a little bit, like, when she turns the light on, that's one of those wide shots where you get like a shadowy figure, but you can't make anything out. Mm. But you can see a shadowy figure down in the woods, which is why she goes outside.
Yeah.
And then she turns around and all of a sudden it's in the house.
Yeah. Very effective. It is. That is very. It is very creepy.
There's a very tense scene.
Yeah, that's one of the things Oz Perkins does really well, I think, is he makes. That's also like a really well shot and composed, like even from a lighting perspective, like when she flips the outside light on and it's the wide shot of the house, I think that's like a perfect shot.
Yeah.
It looks so good. Just the how the color, like the lighting, the colors, all of that. But she comes back into the house and she finds a letter that says, "Lee Harker, do not open until
January 14th.
So we know from what we just learned, all the murders occur for daughters who have birthdays on the 14th. And now Lee Harker has a note that says don't open until January 14th. Now she's not a good rule follower because she immediately opens it.
That's why I was like, what's the date? Like, in my brain, I was like, what is the date?
January 14th. And that's where we get one of our other numbers.
9.
So she opens it, and it is a card for a 9th birthday. So what we can kind of understand is something happened when Lee was 9. Because for some reason, 9 is a significant number between Longlegs and Lee. So what
all the girls in the murders are around 9 also, aren't they?
They're all, and this is where the idea of the kind of the liminal space between childhood and adolescence comes into play too, because all of them are around, that kind of like 9, 10, 11, where you kind of are beginning to transition out of childhood and into adolescence. Yeah, so all of them are kind of in that place, which harkens to the idea of like they're not allowed to grow up. They're not allowed to be adults, or they're not allowed to live their life. So, what's up with number 9? That's the question.
It's 6 upside down.
That's one. Not really, but yes. So 9 is a number biblically that is significant for its divine completeness. It is associated with the event that Christ died on the 9th hour. There's also 9 fruits of God's Holy Spirit, which are faithfulness, gentleness, joy, kindness, long-suffering, love, peace, and self-control. And this is the one that I thought was the most interesting, but it's also biblically linked to sorcery. So there are 9 groups of proposed sorcerers in the Bible, which sorcery in the Old Testament is just kind of the divination of evil spirits. Keep that in mind, listener who may or may not have seen this movie already. So she reads the letter. It has a combination of the weird zodiac stuff and then just some stuff written out. But she immediately cracks open the Bible and decodes the code. And what she gets is the message: tell them how you got the code and I'll kill your mom.
Essentially.
I don't remember what exactly it says, but the long and short of it is, if you tell them how you got the code, I'll kill your mom. This is where we get the scene where it's the family that has not been discovered for a month.
Yeah.
There's another note, and she immediately just like decodes it in the kitchen, and Carter's like, how the hell did you do that?
Yeah. He's like, what did you learn?
Yeah. And it's a nice little callback, because right before they go out for drinks, Carter and Lee, when he finds her asleep, he's like, sometimes there's looking too long. And he's like, how did you figure that out? She's like, I just looked long enough.
Mm-hmm.
So she's kind of playing it off as like not a big deal.
Yeah, she obviously can't tell him that she got a letter to herself.
Yeah. Yeah, so they call back. They find the murdered family who's been they
murdered.
Yeah, they weren't found for a month. But then you get some like more investigatory stuff from Lee, and she's looking into it to try to find what eventually is the algorithm that we talked about. That's the triangle. And she finds that the first murder occurred on...
It wasn't January 14th, was it?
It was July 14th.
July 14th.
1966.
Yeah.
So
14. 4 wasn't a number, was it?
No.
No.
That was... that immediately... Well, July is 7. But they said that, and I was like... That's 6. And then I remembered my months, and I was like, oh, I know.
We're currently in the 4th month in April.
Yeah.
Where was my brain at?
So just real quick, 6 to wrap up.
Yeah.
The biblical numerology. 6 is related to man and human weakness. It is a manifestation of sin. Man was created on the 6th day, and man gets 6 work days and 1 day of rest. Jesus was also asked 6 times to produce signs to prove who he was and what his claims were. And we already know 6 is associated with the mark of the beast, 666, whatever. So, again, just putting that out there. Just, take it as you will. But the first murder occurred July 14th, 1966. And all of the murders occur within 6 days of the daughter's birthdays.
Was it 6 days?
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason I thought it was 8. That's why I said that earlier.
They all occur within 6 days of the daughter's birthday.
Some as early as the 8th. I knew that there was an 8 in there, but 6 days earlier would be the 8th. So
Yeah. And this is where we get one of our only surviving victims is they realized that there was one survivor of the murder, Carrie Ann Camera, three named,
Three names. Yeah,
three names, and it's not that her middle name is Ann; she goes by Carrie Ann, so Carrie Ann Camera.
Which she's played by somebody who is a collaborator with Oz Perkins as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Kieran Shipka.
She's in Blackcoat Daughter, right? Yeah,
She's in a Blackcoat's Daughter.
yeah. Her family, her father killed a priest, his wife, and then himself, and she was one of the only person in that family to survive because I guess she was out school, whatever.
Yeah, she came home, and they think that she saw him.
Yeah, but she went catatonic after, so she's been in a mental institution.
Catatonia.
Yeah, she's been and in an institution. Do you remember the murder date associated with her case?
Not off the top of my head.
March 8th.
March 8th.
March.
3/8.
And her birthday is the 14th. Obviously, we know that. But this helps kind of understand the missing date of January 13th, which in the movie it's around January. They say it's coming up, like the birthday's coming up. So they go to the hospital to talk to Carrie. She's a wild one. This is also where one of the funniest, which is probably the only funny aspects of this movie happens.
The guy who owns the place.
Yeah, they're like, did she have a visitor? And he's like, yeah, we have the logbook right here. And you see that the person signed in as Lee Harker, and she just asks like, do you require ID checks when people sign in? And he's like, that's a great idea.
But no,
we don't. It's just a funny little thing. But from that, they talk to her. Then they go to. Oh wait, no, they don't go to the hospital first. They go to the farm.
The farm first. Yeah.
They go to the farm on the idea that they get a clue that says like X marks the spot. So they go to the farm. They see X's, which are really just crosses. Go to the attic of the barn. They see a doll. From that, they take the doll to like a coroner.
Yeah. I don't know why they took it to a coroner, but
just like a general examination.
Maybe he was also just a forensics scientist.
Yeah, that's probably the better terminology. But he said, this is expert doll maker. It's beautifully made. The hair is human hair. And there's a little ball inside of the head.
The brain.
Yeah, that is hollow.
Yeah.
But if you put the ultrasound up to it, it creates a sound that is kind of eerie and then also triggers something in Lee. He also says, he was like, yeah, I could have sworn the other night it kept saying my ex-wife's name, but that's impossible. And like, he was like, I was up all night, and it's just like, okay, something's going on here.
Yeah.
And they ask like, can we crack it open? They're like, yeah, if you want. It's hollow. There's nothing in it. And then later they also say like, yeah, we cracked it open. There was nothing in it. So.
Did they crack it open? I guess I'll wait. I was just say, did they crack it open before or after?
They don't like
say.
Yeah, they don't show it. It's just eventually they talk about it. It's just kind of in passing.
Yeah, I was just wondering. It could we've already talked spoilers at this point. So like, if it was before or after Carrie Ann Camera jumped,
it would have probably been before.
Okay, because like whenever the one doll was shot, they like seemed to release. So I wasn't sure.
Yeah, there's something going on with the dolls. That's what, and like you start to see. This is where you start to see more of Longlegs himself, because for the most part he's just you see him in the initial like opening shot, and then he's just kind of a name, and then you start to see him be integrated into the story more and more, and
which I thought was awesome. Like I liked how he did that a lot.
And it's weird because he's such a strange. I was reading an interview, and you're not supposed to sympathize with him, but there's definite aspects of him that are sympathetic, because he's kind of Oz Perkins kind of talks about him as if he's just a person who was on the wrong path, because one of the most notable things is how he looks. He has a very strange facial features, and people kind of talk about, is he deformed? Does he have like literal physical issues? Oz Perkins said that. So I would assume this is canon. Those are the result of prosthetic surgeries. They don't tell you that in the movie. There's nothing to indicate that, but that's what Oz Perkins said specifically.
He's trying to make himself a doll.
Maybe that could. That's probably, it's somewhere along that, because he has this obsession with doll making.
These dolls, yeah.
He's
very first off, stellar performance from Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Like, he did such a good job at being a startling person. Even just like visually, he's startling. And then some of the scenes that he's in are just like, he does such a good job at it.
Yeah. Well, so we see him, he's going to the hardware store, and he like puts what he wants on the counter, and the teenager behind the camera is like, yeah, he does this weird, like, he keeps saying cuckoo.
Yeah.
Throughout the movie, but he does this weird, like, cuckoo thing, and she's like, I don't know what that means.
It's a cuckoo clock impersonation, because he did it with the door, like, cuckoo, cuckoo. Yeah. But yeah, she's like, I have no, and then she just yells like, Dad, that weird guy's here.
Yeah. And then cuts to him being in his car. And this is where Oz Perkins also said, like, you get this sense that he's like rejected, because not only how he looks, but he is like a weird person, like kind of inherently. And even you understand, like, in the movie, he is worshiping Satan, and like the idea that he is put himself in this situation that allows him to be so different from everyone around him that he is just completely misunderstood, or just denied. But he also, this is one of the, in the movie, when I saw it in theaters, people kind of laughed at this scene, but if you read what he says, it's pretty heavy.
Which part?
So he's when he's driving,
okay,
and he just starts screaming.
Yeah, he screams, "Daddy, mommy, release me!" Right?
He says, he goes, "Daddy, mommy," and that's when everyone starts laughing, because it is very funny. He says, and he's screaming this, "Unmake me and save me from the hell of living." So you get this idea that he's probably done. Like, he doesn't want to be here anymore. He's got too much stuff on his face.
I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
I got too much shit. The chin kills.
And then this is where they go to talk to Carrie Ann to kind of get some idea of who is this, who is the visitor. She's awake. She's not catatonic anymore. And one of the first things she says to Lee is, I've seen you before. And that's where you kind of start to understand that the dolls they're already significant, but like the implications of what the dolls are for, because there's no way she would have ever seen Lee.
I don't think it was Lee. She didn't actually see Lee.
Well, yeah, what I'm saying is...
But I don't think it was the idea that she saw it through the doll either.
I see, that's where I would differ. I think that's probably...
Because then she says, or someone who looks like you. I think it's her mom when she was younger.
Okay, yeah, I hadn't considered that. That could be it. Yeah, I just kind of took it as like the doll having some kind of weird connection to the person themselves.
No, and that is a way to think about, like, that. I think that's a kind of like a little bit of a red herring there. Like, I think it's meant to be that.
Yeah, and this is where she talks about like her catatonia being, she doesn't say it, but she says limbo, and I think we can also understand limbo as like purgatory.
She speaks in a very childlike and like backwoods like manner.
Yeah, which you don't really get the idea that that's where, like, it's almost like a weird bastardization of like Midwest kind of like funny talk.
Uses and
I kind of wish. Yeah, she said, I wish I would have wrote one of them down, but she just talks very strangely, and she keeps talking about. She's like, oh, I'm just he brought me life. He could tell me to jump out, take a jumpy out a window, and I'd be just happy as peaches. He could tell me to kill you right now, and
she says, kill you right now.
Yeah, right now, and I'd just be happy as peaches doing it.
And what's weird is like it's like this weird like southern Midwest thing, like you said, but the whole movie's set in like Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they ever talk?
I don't think they do. I read that
Oh,
like
okay.
it was set in Oregon,
Gotcha.
but Pacific Northwest, like
Yeah. Um, and then there's also in the talk, Lee is asking like, "Do you remember a doll?" And she just goes, "No," and you don't either. So you're like, you're putting the little pieces together of like, all right, something is going on. After that, Carter confronts Lee, and he's like, "Hey, this case has been cold for years. All of a sudden, you're on the case, and everything's hot as lava."
and the big thing he asked, the whole reason he brought that up, he said like, why does Longlegs know who you are?
Because he signed in as her.
Yeah.
And he does some digging, and he finds a police report from January 13th, the day before Lee's birthday as a child, where her mom called the police for a trespasser, which we understand is what we saw in the beginning of Longlegs coming up to the house and trying to talk to Lee. He asked, "Do you remember this?" She says, "No, I don't remember any of that." And he says, "All right, go talk to your mom then. See if she remembers anything." And this is the first time you see Lee's mom and the house that she lives in. They talk on the phone, but you don't directly see her. And you see that it's like a hoarder house. She's not really living in the best qualities. She keeps her baby teeth, like little things like that. She even says, like, "I kept everything from your childhood." And that's kind of plays into the idea that she wasn't really allowed to grow up, or her mom is very sheltering of her. Even at one point, you get a similar, like, when Lee has intuitions. So she's making something to eat for her mom, and she focuses on the crack of the basement door. There's like a cockroach there, which you could see either as like is another intuitive moment, or just it's meant to kind of portray the squalor that her mom's living in because there's a cockroach.
What is the symbology of cockroaches?
I don't know. I guess I should have looked that up. They survived nuclear war.
Yeah. I wonder if there's anything like biblical about them.
They didn't have cockroaches back then.
Sure they did.
No.
They've been around since the dawn of time.
No, they were grown in a lab in the 1930s. Their cockroaches were only invented to talk about how they could survive nuclear war.
I'm going to see you real quick. I just want to know if they have a symbolism.
I mean, of course, it's probably gross stuff.
In biblical terms, can be associated with the symbolism of tenacity. And the roach can also mean you need the strength to keep promises. Anyhow.
Well,
Longlegs was tenacious.
I mean, her mom did have to keep a promise.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can kind of discount it as just kind of focusing in on like the squalor that her mom lives in.
I think that was definitely the point. But then with all the animal symbology and numerology you've done, I was like,
whoa. I'm breaking your mind.
Yeah.
She goes to try the door. It's locked, and then her mom's like, "Lee." And this is when Lee starts to really question her mom about it, and she just immediately like shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
She does not want to talk about it.
Well, that's when she originally says you were allowed to grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she says, she's asking her about it, and her mom says, there are things a child shouldn't know, which is, again, this idea that Lee is still a child. And she goes, Lee says, "I'm not a child anymore." And she says, "Yeah, you're an adult because I allowed you to grow up."
Yeah.
And it's all this really interesting play on her childhood or adolescence, her adulthood. And she says, "I may have forgotten everything for both of our sake, but I've kept everything anyway." But she never threw anything away. So you don't really get a lot out of her mom, but Lee goes to, like, she takes a toy chest home from her mother's home, and as she's going through it, she finds a bunch of Polaroids, and she finds one of Longlegs. So at that point, she goes to Carter, and she's like, "This is our guy." And he's like, "All right, let's find him." And that's when they finally capture Longlegs. Like, he's just standing at a bus stop, probably gets the idea that something's happening or he's going to get caught. So he's like, he has a guitar, he has his briefcase, and then he's just waiting at a bus stop.
This is the other funny moment in the movie, actually. This is arrest. Whenever the like lead detective comes up and he's like, "Sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to get on the fucking ground."
It's very pointlessly aggressive.
Yeah, like it's very like calmly aggressive.
Yeah.
Like,
But yeah, this is so after this, Longlegs is in an interrogation room, and you find out his real name, Dale Ferdinand Cobble. 3 names, not unusual.
yeah, most people have a middle name.
Well, but the fact that they're addressing him
Yeah.
as someone with 3 names, but then again, when it comes to like murderers or like big events, they
Even just somebody getting arrested, it usually has all 3 names
yeah, that way people don't mistake.
for another Dale Cobble.
Yeah, exactly. Or like that's why like Lee Harvey Oswald.
Mm-hmm.
There were probably other Lee Oswalds at that point.
All serial killers have 3 names. BTK.
That's not his name. That was the method. But he begins singing "Happy Birthday" to Lee in the room.
It gets like they ask him a couple questions first, right? And like it's like, how do you know who this person is? And it's a friend of a friend of a friend. Like he's given these like weird cryptic answers.
Yeah, he says he's talking about the man downstairs.
Yeah.
You could even call him Mr. Downstairs, meant to be the devil.
Yeah.
Obviously, he worships Satan. We know this. It's also not illegal, so he can worship Satan if he wants.
Yeah, I wish he would have said that too. I was like, it's not illegal.
Yeah, he can do it if he wants. But then, finally, Lee decides to confront him, because she probably realizes she's the only person who can get answers out of him. He starts giving all this really interesting, like weird information. He says, "You were 20 when you decided to go into law enforcement, and we had such a big laugh." It's like, okay, how would he know that? And then he says, "But she didn't laugh." And it's, don't really know what this means. And she's like, "Well, who is she?" And he says, "She is the 7th she to be given the same choice they've all been given." And then he talks about, I forget what the exact quote is, but he's talking about like the deal that she was given, and it's like crimson or clover. I don't remember the exact quote, but with that being said, how many leaves do clovers have?
4.
That's
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a genetic mutation to have 4.
Yeah.
Clovers have 3 leaves, and 7, 14 kind of tied together. And this is where he actually describes the method through which he is technically not killing people, but the murders are happening. He kind of offhandedly says, it seems like a psycho rant, but congratulations, you've won. The church is giving you a prize, and it's a nice lady of the Bible entering the house. That's when the doll gets introduced, and then somehow, some way, that's where all the evil happens. He gives us all this information.
I want to point something out real quick before the conversation with Lee and Longlegs. She quotes something out of the Bible.
Yeah.
And the other girl's like, Revelations. And she says, Revelation, there's no S on it. It like, just like corrects her.
Yeah.
It might be moments like that where people think that she's like autistic.
Well, yeah, but that's also like if we understand her mom to be a very religious person.
Yes.
So it's
yeah.
like,
And on top of that too, she is like, the reason she's in the job she's in is because she has high attention to detail like that.
yeah. Yeah. The quote that is from the book of Revelation is, "I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw the beast rise up and out of the sea with 7 heads and 7 horns." And there's more to it, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. But he says, like, "I'm done," and she's like, "Well, you'll be here." And he's like, "I'll be a little bit everywhere." And she just asks, like, "Who is the man downstairs?" And he just says, "Ask your mom." And then he promptly smashes his face into the table until he's dead.
And that up until that point, again, when I say stellar performance from Nicolas Cage, that's like the most haunting scene in the film.
Yeah,
Like,
there's one at one point he lifts his head off the table and like his nose is just
not even that, just like the way that he's talking, and
oh
like
yeah.
he jumps between like this kind of like happy to like sinister to like his face is already messed up from all the prosthetics, and like just the way that he's looking, the way he's talking. Like, I've never been that creeped out by Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I read I was reading an interview with Oz Perkins, and they were talking about like him working with Nic Cage, and they were like, yeah, he was like Nic Cage is one of the smartest, like most intelligent actors. Like he really understands how to translate these things, and like he understands how to like connect performances. Like he has like an encyclopedic knowledge of movies, so he can be like, oh, it should be like this. And he said like he was like, I was really particular. I really wanted my script to be read as it was written because we took a lot of time to like really refine it. And then he was like, as soon as I was on the phone with Nic Cage, I told him like, yeah, you could just do whatever you want. And Nic Cage was like, no, what you have here is like what I'm going to do. Like there's no, I don't know if it was directly like there's no room for improvement. Like this is perfect. But he was just like, this is exactly how it should be done. So he kind of gave Nic Cage the room
To do what he wanted to be
and
Nick Cage.
and Nic Cage was like,
No.
no, I'm gonna perform what you see this character doing because he understood the significance of what it was.
In a video that I watched, because it was somebody asking, like, you know, about Nick Cage's look in it. And he was like, how was it, like, the guy asked, like, how was it to, like, see him like that? And Oscar Perkins was like, well, I worked with him the whole time. I knew he looked like that. That scene was the first time Micah Monroe has seen him in his Longlegs, like, look.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, he wanted to capture that as realistic as possible for seeing somebody odd like that, like look like that, and to be like that sinister. And so like that, I feel like her reaction's probably pretty close to like what somebody's reaction would be.
That was one of the initial selling points. Was I'm pretty sure I didn't look into it because I just trusted whoever said this, but they released like a trailer because during that scene, she had like a heart monitor on, and I think they released like a trailer with that scene with the heart monitor like showing, and it was supposed to give you the idea like Nic Cage's character was so terrifying, like the actress herself was actually
Scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably very authentic
But yeah.
performance of being like terrified in that one.
But what you were saying too, when he continued to bash his face off the table, and like, yeah, at one point he just looks like a skull.
Yeah, his nose is like completely off his face. It's really really gross.
Yeah.
So after that, the one agent is like, I'm gonna take you home. Takes Lee to her mother's house as a like means of support because she's like, you can't be by yourself right now. This is also where part 3 kicks off, and it's called Birthday Girls. You get the idea. At the same time that Longlegs killed himself, Carrie Ann Camera jumped from a window in the hospital. So the one agent drops Lee off. You see the agent staring at a car that you connect is Longlegs' car from the beginning, where we see him leaving the hardware store. And then Lee's kind of looking around trying to find her mom. She looks out a window and sees her mom with a shotgun kill the special agent. And that's when kind of everything really starts to kick off in the final act.
The whole point was to bring her mom in for questioning.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
she says, like, do you want help with it? And she said, no, I'm just going to go, like, tell her that we need to have her for questioning, and then we'll process her once we're there.
Yeah.
Like,
So, agent's dead. Lee kind of runs out, finds her mom in the backyard, and there's a doll of Lil Lee. And Lee's like, what's going on here? And she says, "You caught him. Now he's free." And there's like a back and forth. Lee draws her gun, and then her mom shoots the doll in the head, and that's where Lee is like directly physically impacted by that. Like she passes out, and you see smoke leaving not only her head but the doll's head as well, which is obviously very, very symbolic.
The brain.
The brain, there's the idea of like if her mother destroyed the aspect of her childhood trauma, that it's freeing to Lee as well.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the more ambiguous aspects of the movie, is like, what power does the doll have really? It's never really answered. And then the very last scene really pulls that into question.
Yeah. The thing, and this is why I kind of was wondering too, whenever they said they cracked open the brain, because the dolls and the brain seem to have some sort of hold over people in general. But like, if whenever the doll was shot in the head and it kind of released Lee from whatever hold it had, if they would have cracked open the brain for Carrie Ann cameras earlier, I wonder if she would have jumped off of the building. Is kind of what my thought was.
Yeah, I mean that could have. I guess I don't remember the sequence, but if they cracked it and then she came out of her catatonia,
yeah, that could be also.
Like, yeah, I'd have to pay attention to that next time. I don't remember the sequence immediately, but yeah. So this is where there's like flashbacks of the doll maker. You see Longlegs making the dolls.
And you get Lee's mom telling her a story during the whole flashback too.
Yeah, and she's describing exactly how all of the murders occurred, how she's directly involved with it. She is working with Longlegs because Longlegs was going to kill her and Lee. She makes a deal with him. Well, really a deal with the devil, that he will or she will do his bidding by killing other families, and as long as she continues to help him kill other families, that
she'll be safe.
Yeah, her and Lee will be safe. Which is where the question that Oz Perkins wanted to ask was like, is there something that a mother can do that's too much to save her child? And it's the idea that like he said like she's doing what any parent would do, but does that make it okay? Obviously not. So there's this juxtaposition of a very obvious, yes, a parent should do whatever they can to help their child and save their child, with an egregious act like murdering all these other families and working for the devil.
For like the past 20-something years.
Yeah, 30.
30.
Don't forget, it's 3.
Yeah, my bad. The other thing, too, so something that's interesting that I read also, Nicolas Cage, the article said where he took inspiration from his father to play Dracula in Renfield, he took inspiration from his mom to play Longlegs. And it said like, Nicolas Cage's quote was like, well, of course my mother wasn't a Satanist, but I've grown up watching her deal with mental illness my whole life. And that he would kind of channeled like things he saw from his mother in order to play this character that's like mentally disturbed.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's funny. Is his mom alive?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if she still is or not.
I feel like that'd be really awkward.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is where Lee wakes up. She's in Longlegs' domain that you see him in throughout the movie. And then you find out that it was her mom's basement. So he was the man in the basement.
Yeah.
Literally.
He was the man downstairs.
He was the man downstairs. How long he's been there, don't really know.
I think it had to have been after they found him, like that first time, because she made it seem like, she agreed to do it because if he kept walking around people's houses, he would definitely get caught a lot sooner.
Yeah.
But if it's this woman who used to be like an in-call nurse or an out-call nurse,
they're willing to open the door.
They're willing to open the door for her and let her in. Now, like a nurse turned like religious, like what do you call it, supporter, like going house to house.
Yeah, so he's been chilling in their basement for quite the while.
Making these dolls right underneath them. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so Lee gets upstairs. She gets a call from a disembodied voice. It just says you're late for Ruby's birthday, which is Carter's daughter. So she's driving over there, and she pulls up. She's like, "Is everyone okay?" And Carter's like, "Yeah, everyone's fine. Come on in." And then you see Lee's mom sitting there, and there's Ruby, and then also a doll of Ruby. Really awkward scene where or it's awkward, it's tense, but it's also kind of funny, where they're all sitting there, and then the wife's like, "Do you want to get the cake?" to Agent Carter, and he's just like, "Yeah, I'll get the cake. It's your stupid idea. I gotta get the cake." He's like, "I just gotta look something to cut it with."
He's like very aggressive.
Yeah.
Like the mom's very nonchalant about it and just like, oh, haha, like, yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's where you kind of get the idea that they're under some kind of
Spell.
something,
Yeah.
some kind of evil incantation. But you get the idea that they're both gonna walk into the kitchen. He's gonna kill her, and
Well, even like she says, we'll be right back. He goes, I'll be back. You'll still be in the kitchen.
yeah. So Lee is talking to her mom. She's like, "You don't have to do this." She's like, "Lee, you don't understand. If they don't die, we'll burn and twist in hell forever." And then she's essentially like, "And for that reason, I'll do it again and again and again." And this is final like climax of the movie. Carter comes out with a knife, and she pulls her gun, and she says, "Stop what you're doing. Don't do that. I'll shoot you." And
Shoots him.
she shoots him. We're gonna go through the scene, and then I'm gonna double back. So she shoots him, and then her mom, she tries to, she shoots Carter. Her mom starts to wild out. She says, "Mom, don't do this," and she just shouts, "Don't call me that." And the voice is like distorted to the point where you could probably assume she's possessed at this point. Shoots her mom too, and then she grabs Ruby to leave, and she tries to shoot the doll, but she can't.
All out of bullets.
Is she though?
Nah, I didn't get the count.
So she shoots Carter
Twice.
She shoots her mom
Once.
so that's three shots, and we know that a standard revolver carries how many?
6, 5 to 7, technically. Like that's a standard. It's like anywhere in between 5 to 7. But yeah,
So
6
six.
shooter. Okay, my bad.
It's a 6 shooter.
I danced around that.
So she shoots 3 shots. We can assume
There's 3 more.
It has 3 more. How many times does she try to shoot?
3 more times.
She tries to shoot it 4 times.
Oh, really?
So there should be no reason. If she only fired 3 shots, there should be no reason that one of those 4 clicks
Shouldn't have gone off.
So you get some ambiguity there. What happened? Why is is the gun empty somehow? Or is there literally a force stopping her from shooting the doll? And that's where the movie ends. Yeah. There's
also doubling back to that scene.
Mm.
She could have probably stopped him from killing her a lot sooner. She probably could have stopped the father from killing the mother.
Yeah.
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 That's like the only thing that I had like ever like throughout the movie where I was like, it's like, why didn't she follow him to the kitchen and stop that from happening? Like you hear like the stabbing sounds and everything, dude. It's just like she's literally just standing there as it all happened. And like save that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
but again, that's like the only complaint. Not even a complaint. It's just like
One of those like questionable moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm not a daughter that's been chasing a serial killer for 2 weeks and finding out that my mother has been the accomplice the whole time. So I'm not in the situation. I'm removed from it, but
And also contextually within the movie, the father is always the one committing the act.
yeah.
So there's kind of an inherent like evil or distrust put upon a lot of the father figures in the movie. So not obviously this doesn't justify her allowing the father to kill
Yeah.
the mother, but like would the events have gone the same if she had tried to stop the father figure from committing the act?
Yeah.
Don't really know. But yeah, it is. I could see that being a, like, wait, why didn't you go?
I guess you being in the situation versus being somebody watching a situation is two different things.
No.
People literally get paralyzed and crippled by fear.
Yeah.
And that easily could have been like, to answer my own question and to like argue against myself here, because like thinking through it more, like easily could have been the situation. It wasn't until, you know, she was at risk, the daughter was at risk, that she actually acted.
But yeah, I love this movie.
It's great.
I think it's one of my favorite recent horror movies. I think it's just kind of more of a thriller than anything. Like, it has its moments where it is like a horror movie, but it's kind of just a thriller. Yeah, I think it's great. I think Micah Monroe does a great job of being Lee Harker. I think Nic Cage is great. I think the mother character is great.
Mm-hmm.
I think Blair Underwood is really good in the movie. Everything, I just really love the movie. I saw it twice in theaters because I liked it so much.
The acting is great. The directing is great. The script is great. Like, cinematography is great. There's nothing about this movie that's bad.
I like it. Kind of scratches all the itches in my brain where it's like the characters are well composed. There's enough ambiguity. It doesn't spell out. It kind of does spell out exactly what's going on. But
It kind of has to.
The Satan stuff is really, really on the nose, which
Yeah.
is like the only thing that kind of bothers me when right before he bashes his head, he's just like, "Hail Satan." And then
Yeah.
that's what ends the movie too.
Yeah, the mom says it too right before she attacks.
Yeah, it's just kind of, that's annoying, but I can forgive it. The ambiguity of like the doll and like what the ball and the head means, like that's the stuff I like. Is Lee psychic, or is she just intuitive? Ambiguity.
Or did the ball have some sort of hold over her?
Yeah.
Also, that caused her to. But, and like that is an interesting thing too, where like it's fun with the whole satanic panic of people like worshiping the devil to get powers and things like that, or like people think that they might get powers from it, but for this to be like that is kind of a linchpin in this story too, where it's like, yeah, there is some weird power through Satanism that's making these families kill each other or kill themselves. Like it's one of those things that you definitely have to suspend your disbelief to get into, but it's also just like, it makes it cool. Like, it makes it really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So as someone who watched it for the first time,
I like I said, I loved it. I watched it. My brother and sister-in-law went out for their anniversary. I was dog sitting for them, so I watched it at their house. And whenever they got home, I was like, "Have you guys seen this movie? Because you guys have to see this movie." Like,
yeah.
And they hadn't watched it yet. I was like, "You guys have to watch that movie. It's great."
Yeah, it rules.
Yeah,
it is one of those ones that got the hype it deserved.
Yeah, I'm gonna now. I want to see The Monkey again. Like, I know you said you didn't like it as much, but
yeah, we talked about it in the what's going on. But
he has another movie coming out, I think this year, next year. It's called The Keeper. But it's got Tatiana Maslany in it also, which she was just in The Monkey, wasn't she?
I don't know who that is.
I think she was the girl in The Monkey, but because whenever I was looking through, like, his Wikipedia page has collaborators on it, and she was on a couple.
Oh, okay.
She was the main character in the show Orphan Black. She's a really good actress.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I think he's someone who's worth keeping a watch on. I think The Monkey was him kind of doing like the one for Longlegs was, I think, one for me, and then one for them was The Monkey.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But
and me also liking, like I said, The Black Goat's Daughter. I thought was a very good movie. So he's definitely somebody I'm going to keep an eye on from this point forward.
Yeah. But all right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed it. It's a little long-winded, but we had some numerology to talk about. We had some symbology stuff to talk about. So, and there were some technical difficulties right in the middle. So,
yeah.
But all right. Well, it's been real. It's been fun.
See you next one.